That milk you pour into your coffee every morning thinking it is the healthy choice is spiking your blood sugar just as much as the foods you are actively trying to avoid. These are the 4 worst milks after 60 and the 4 that actually help control it. Worst, number 4. Whole cow's milk. This is the one that might surprise you because whole cow's milk has been a staple in kitchens for generations, and it genuinely does have nutritional value. It has protein, calcium, and fat. But for a diabetic over 60, the way those nutrients interact with your blood sugar is more complicated than the label suggests, and you have probably never heard this explained properly. Whole cow's milk contains lactose, which is a naturally occurring milk sugar. When you drink it, your body breaks that lactose down into glucose and galactose, which both enter your bloodstream and raise your blood sugar. The fat in whole milk does slow that process down, which is why its glycemic index sits around 31, and that is actually lower than you might expect. But here is where it gets complicated for diabetics specifically. Research has found that milk triggers an insulin response that is 3 to 5 times higher than what its carbohydrate content alone would suggest. That means your pancreas is working significantly harder after a glass of whole milk than the glycemic index number implies. After 60, your pancreas is already under more stress than it was when you were younger. If you have type 2 diabetes, your ability to produce and use insulin efficiently has been compromised over time. Every time you ask your pancreas to work harder than necessary, you are adding to that burden. Whole milk does that every single morning before you have even eaten anything else. If your blood sugar readings have been inconsistent despite careful eating, the milk in your morning coffee or cereal could be contributing more than you realize. It is not that whole milk is poison. It is that for a diabetic over 60, the daily cumulative effect of that insulin demand adds up in ways that are easy to miss because whole milk looks so innocent. Drink whole milk sparingly, if at all. If you currently use it in multiple cups of coffee throughout the day or pour it over cereal, consider how many times your pancreas is being asked to respond to it before lunch. The better options later in this video will give you the same satisfaction without that repeated insulin demand. Worst, number 3. Unsweetened oat milk. Oat milk has been one of the fastest growing milk alternatives in recent years, and the marketing around it is very convincing. It sounds wholesome. It comes from oats, which everyone has been told are heart healthy. And the unsweetened version has no added sugar on the label, so it feels like a responsible choice. But for your blood sugar, the story is significantly different from what the packaging implies. The problem with oat milk starts in how it is made. When oats are processed into a liquid, the enzymes used to break them down convert the oat starch into maltose, which is a type of sugar with a very high glycemic index. Maltose actually has a glycemic index of around 105, which is higher than pure glucose. Once that enzymatic processing happens, the fiber that makes whole oats beneficial for blood sugar is largely destroyed, and what you are left with is fast-absorbing carbohydrates in a drinkable form. The glycemic index of unsweetened oat milk sits between 60 and 69 depending on the brand and processing method. That puts it firmly in the moderate to high range, and significantly higher than other milk alternatives you will see later in this video. For a diabetic, that difference matters because your blood sugar response to oat milk every morning is meaningfully higher than it would be with a better choice. If you switched to oat milk from dairy thinking you were making a healthier choice for your blood sugar, you were making the decision based on how oat milk is marketed, not on what it actually does inside your body. That is not your fault. The information on the label does not tell you about the enzymatic processing or what it does to the sugar content, but knowing it now means you can make a different choice going forward. Check the brand you are currently using and look at the total carbohydrates per serving. You will likely find between 14 and 17 grams per cup. Compare that to the best options later in this video, which contain 1 to 2 grams per cup. That difference is hitting your blood sugar every single morning. Worst, number 2. Sweetened oat milk. If unsweetened oat milk is already problematic for blood sugar, then sweetened oat milk is significantly worse, and it is one of the most deceptive products on grocery store shelves for diabetics specifically. The reason is that sweetened oat milk combines the already high glycemic base of oat milk with additional sugar on top, creating a blood sugar spike that rivals foods you have probably eliminated from your diet entirely. A single cup of sweetened oat milk can contain anywhere from 12 to 20 grams of total carbohydrates, with several of those grams coming from added sugar. When you add that to the fast-absorbing maltose already present from the oat processing, you are giving your body a rapid surge of glucose that your pancreas has to scramble to manage. For a diabetic over 60, that scramble is exactly what you are trying to avoid every single day. What makes this particularly frustrating is the packaging. Sweetened oat milk often comes in the same style of carton as unsweetened versions with similar branding and similar health claims on the front. The word original or barista on the label sometimes means sweetened, and you have to flip to the nutrition facts on the back to find the added sugars line. Research consistently shows that you are likely not reading the back of the carton when making your weekly grocery purchases. You trusted the product once, and now you buy it automatically without a second look. If you use sweetened oat milk in your morning coffee and then again in a smoothie or with cereal, you could be adding 30 to 40 grams of high glycemic carbohydrates to your day just from milk before you have eaten a proper meal. For a diabetic, that is a significant and entirely avoidable daily burden on your blood sugar management. Next time you go grocery shopping, pick up the oat milk you currently buy and find the added sugars line on the nutrition label. If it shows more than 1 gram, put it back. The unsweetened version of that same product is likely sitting right next to it, and even that version needs to be replaced with something better, which is exactly what the next section of this video covers. Worst number 1. Rice milk. Rice milk is the worst milk available for blood sugar control, and it is not close. Its glycemic index sits between 85 and 86, which makes it one of the highest glycemic foods you can drink in liquid form. To put that in context, white bread has a glycemic index of around 75. You are drinking something that spikes your blood sugar faster than white bread, and if you are using rice milk, you probably have no idea because it is marketed as a gentle, allergen-friendly alternative. Rice milk is made from processed white rice and water, and if you understand anything about white rice and blood sugar, you can already see where this is heading. White rice converts to blood glucose very rapidly. When you turn it into a liquid, that speed only increases because there is no meaningful fat, no meaningful protein, and almost no fiber to slow digestion down. Everything that would normally buffer a blood sugar spike is absent. What you are left with is essentially liquid glucose delivery. A cup of rice milk contains around 22 to 25 grams of carbohydrates, with almost all of it being fast-absorbing starch-derived sugar. For a diabetic over 60, that is the equivalent of eating several spoons of sugar with your morning coffee and calling it healthy, because the label says plant-based. Rice milk tends to appear in households where someone has multiple food allergies or sensitivities. If you cannot tolerate dairy, soy, and nuts, rice milk can feel like the only option left. But unsweetened almond milk, unsweetened cashew milk, and unsweetened soy milk are all options worth exploring first, and all of them are dramatically better for your blood sugar than rice milk, regardless of other dietary considerations. If rice milk is currently in your fridge, replace it this week. Of all the changes you could make for your blood sugar after 60, this one will have the most immediate and measurable impact on your morning glucose readings. Now let us talk about the milks that actually work in your favor. Best number 4. Low-fat cow's milk. Low-fat cow's milk sits at number 4 on the best list, and this one might surprise you because dairy has gotten a complicated reputation in diabetes discussions. But the research on low-fat cow's milk specifically for blood sugar management in diabetics is more positive than you might realize, and the reason comes down to the whey protein it contains. Whey is one of the 2 main proteins in cow's milk, and research has found it has what scientists call insulinotropic effects, which means it actively stimulates insulin production and helps lower post-meal blood sugar. Multiple studies have found that whey protein significantly reduces post-meal blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes. That is a meaningful finding for a naturally occurring protein in a food you probably already have access to. Low-fat milk, specifically, rather than whole milk, is recommended here because removing some of the fat reduces the calorie load while keeping the whey protein content intact. The glycemic index of low-fat milk sits around 37, which is low, and when combined with the blood sugar lowering effect of whey protein, the overall impact on your glucose management is genuinely beneficial for diabetics. After 60, your body becomes less efficient at managing blood sugar after meals. Having a protein that actively helps lower that post-meal spike while delivering calcium and other nutrients your aging body needs makes low-fat cow's milk a practical and affordable option that does not require you to switch to anything unfamiliar or expensive. Use low-fat cow's milk in moderation. 1 cup in your morning coffee or with a meal is reasonable. Look for plain low-fat milk with no added flavoring or sweeteners, and be aware that lactose-free versions may have a slightly higher blood sugar impact because the lactose has already been broken down into simpler, faster-absorbing sugars. Best number 3. Unsweetened cashew milk. Unsweetened cashew milk is one of the least discussed milk alternatives for blood sugar, but the research behind it is solid, and it offers something that unsweetened almond milk cannot, which is a significantly creamier texture that makes it much more satisfying in coffee and smoothies. Cashew milk has a glycemic impact very similar to unsweetened almond milk, sitting in the low range, which means it enters your bloodstream slowly and causes minimal blood sugar response, even when consumed multiple times throughout the day. For a diabetic over 60 who is drinking milk with every cup of coffee, that slow and controlled response is exactly what you want from your milk choice. The fats in cashew milk are predominantly monounsaturated fats, and research has shown that this type of fat supports insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. Better insulin sensitivity means your body needs to release less insulin to handle the same amount of blood sugar, which directly supports your ability to manage glucose over time. Cashew milk gives you that benefit in a form that feels indulgent and satisfying rather than like a compromise. If you have tried unsweetened almond milk and found it too thin or watery for your taste, cashew milk is worth trying as an alternative. Many people who struggle to stay consistent with lower glycemic milk choices find that switching to cashew milk is easier because the texture feels closer to what they were used to with regular milk. The best dietary choice is always the one you will actually stick with consistently. Look for unsweetened cashew milk, specifically. Sweetened versions exist, and as with oat milk, the front of the carton does not always make the sweetened status obvious. Check the nutrition label for added sugars and choose a version with 0 grams of added sugar and ideally under 3 grams of total carbohydrates per cup. Best number 2. Unsweetened soy milk. Unsweetened soy milk sits at number 2 because it offers something that no other plant-based milk can match, which is a protein content comparable to cow's milk, combined with a low glycemic impact that makes it genuinely beneficial for blood sugar management after 60. A cup of unsweetened soy milk contains around 7 to 9 grams of protein and has a glycemic index of 30 to 34, which is in the same range as whole cow's milk, but without the same insulin demand. That protein matters for blood sugar because protein slows the absorption of any carbohydrates you eat alongside it, creating a more gradual and controlled glucose response, rather than the sharp spike that low-protein, high-carbohydrate options cause. The protein in soy milk also increases how full you feel after breakfast, which breaks the cycle of blood sugar spiking and crashing that drives hunger, cravings, and further glucose instability throughout the day. When your breakfast keeps you genuinely satisfied until your next meal, your blood sugar has a chance to stay stable, rather than swinging up and down repeatedly. Research specifically examining soy milk in people with type 2 diabetes has found that it produces a significantly flatter and more controlled glucose curve after meals compared to most other milk alternatives. That flatter curve is exactly what you are trying to achieve every morning when you make choices about what to eat and drink. Use unsweetened soy milk as your everyday milk for coffee, smoothies, and cereal. Always choose unsweetened and check that added sugars on the label read 0. Soy milk is widely available and typically costs about the same as other milk alternatives, making it a practical choice that does not require a significant change to your grocery budget. If you have a soy allergy or sensitivity, then unsweetened cashew or almond milk are your next best options. Best number 1. Unsweetened almond milk. Unsweetened almond milk sits at number 1 because the research behind it for blood sugar management is the most consistent of any milk alternative available, and its carbohydrate content is so low that it has almost no meaningful impact on blood glucose, even when consumed multiple times throughout the day. A cup of unsweetened almond milk contains just 1 to 2 grams of carbohydrates. Compare that to 22 grams in rice milk or 15 grams in oat milk, and the difference is immediately clear. That extremely low carbohydrate content means unsweetened almond milk does not trigger a meaningful insulin response. Your pancreas does not have to scramble to manage a glucose surge. Your blood sugar remains stable, and your body can focus on everything else it needs to do rather than managing a repeated blood sugar spike from your morning milk. The fats in almond milk are predominantly monounsaturated fats, which research has linked to improved insulin sensitivity over time. That means beyond just having a low glycemic impact, almond milk is actively supporting the cellular mechanism that allows insulin to do its job more effectively. For a diabetic over 60 who is managing ongoing insulin resistance, that support compounds meaningfully over weeks and months of consistent use. A study comparing almond milk directly to cow's milk in people with type 2 diabetes and obesity found that the insulin response was significantly lower with almond milk than with carbohydrate-matched cow's milk. Lower insulin demand every morning means less strain on a pancreas that is already working hard and more opportunity for your body to maintain better overall glucose stability throughout the day. The one thing to be aware of with unsweetened almond milk is that it is lower in protein than soy milk or cow's milk. If you rely on your morning milk as a protein source, consider pairing it with eggs, Greek yogurt, or another protein-rich food at breakfast to compensate. For blood sugar management alone, however, unsweetened almond milk is the single best daily choice available to you after 60. Always buy unsweetened. The word unsweetened is not optional here because sweetened almond milk is a completely different product with a completely different blood sugar impact. Look for it on the front of the carton and verify on the nutrition label that added sugars reads 0 and total carbohydrates per cup is 2 grams or less. Now we want to hear from you. Which milk are you currently drinking, and are you going to make a swap after watching this? Tell us in the comments below. We read every single one. And if you found this helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe so you never miss what we cover next. Thanks for watching.